The crimson sun bled across the jagged horizon, casting long, skeletal shadows from the colossal towers of Neo-Babylon. This city, a festering wound on the face of the ravaged earth, was a monument to humanity's hubris, a testament to its insatiable hunger that had choked the world. Within its corroded metal veins, Sir Kalen, the undying knight, walked. He was a relic of a forgotten age, clad in rusted plate armor that whispered tales of chivalry and valor, a stark contrast to the neon-drenched depravity that pulsed. He was forged in the fires of a medieval war, a knight sworn to a king who had been long reduced to dust. A witch's curse, a desperate act to save him from certain death, had gifted him with immortality, but it was a poisoned chalice. He had watched empires rise and crumble, seen the green fields turn to barren wastelands, felt the weight of centuries crushing his soul. He had tried to die countless times, but death remained an elusive lover, forever out of reach. Neo-Babylon was a labyrinth of iron and concrete, divided into tiered sectors. The mid-levels were a grimy tapestry of factories and tenements, where the cogs of the city ground relentlessly. And then there were the Undercity, a lawless abyss where the desperate and forgotten scraped by, clinging to survival by any means necessary. Kalen found himself in the Undercity, drawn to its depths by a faint whisper, a flicker of hope in the suffocating darkness. He had no purpose, no allegiance, only the endless march of time and the haunting memories of a life that was no more. His arrival hadn't gone unnoticed. In this city of scavengers and survivors, a figure clad in ancient armor was an anomaly, a magnet for trouble. He soon encountered Raz, a wiry young woman with cybernetic enhancements and a rebellious spirit. Raz was a runner, a courier who navigated the treacherous Undercity, delivering information and contraband. She saw in Kalen a potential protector, a shield against the brutality that surrounded them. "You're a walking museum piece," Raz had said, her eyes scanning him with a mixture of curiosity and apprehension. "The Undercity isn't kind to strangers." Kalen, his voice raspy from centuries of disuse, simply replied, "Kindness is a luxury I have long forgotten." Razé became his reluctant guide, leading him through the labyrinthine alleys and dilapidated tunnels. She introduced him to the inhabitants of the Undercity, scavengers, tech priests, mutated outcasts, and the remnants of forgotten factions. Each encounter painted a grim picture of Neo-Babylon's decay, a society built on exploitation and indifference. It spoke of a knight of old, burdened by immortality, who would arrive in Neo-Babylon and either save the city from its own corruption or plunge it into further darkness. Kalen dismissed it as superstition, another desperate hope in a hopeless place. "Prophecies are for fools," he said, his gaze fixed on the dancing flames. "I am no savior, only a prisoner of time." "Maybe," Raz countered, "but what if you're wrong? What if you're the only one who can stop this city from eating itself?" Their conversation was interrupted by the arrival of enforcers, the brutal paramilitary force that maintained order in Neo-Babylon, or rather, suppressed any dissent. They had been tracking Raz, suspecting her of smuggling information to a rebel group known as the Ironclad Collective. Kalen, despite his weariness, found a spark of his old self rekindled. He drew his ancient sword, the steel surprisingly sharp after centuries of neglect. The enforcers laughed, mocking his antiquated weapon, but their laughter died in their throats as Kalen moved with a speed that belied his age. He was a whirlwind of steel, his movements precise and deadly. He deflected energy blasts with his shield, his sword cleaving through armor with ease. "You're stronger than you look," Rizé said, her eyes wide with surprise. "I have had practice," Kalen replied, his breath coming in ragged gasps. The encounter with the enforcers drew Kalen deeper into the conflict between the Ironclad Collective and the ruling elite of Neo-Babylon. The Ironclad Collective, led by a charismatic but ruthless leader named Ironheart, sought to overthrow the Skytops and redistribute the city's resources. They believed that Kalen was the key to their victory, the fulfillment of the prophecy. He showed Kalen the suffering of the Undercity, the blatant inequality that fueled the city's engine. Kalen was torn. He had seen so much destruction, so much bloodshed. He longed for peace, for an end to the cycle of violence. but he also felt a growing sense of responsibility, a feeling that he couldn't simply stand by and watch as Neo-Babylon devoured itself. "I am not a leader," Kalen said to Ironheart. "I am a soldier, nothing more." "Then be our sword," Ironheart replied. "Help us forge a new future for this city." He insisted that the Ironclad Collective focus on protecting the innocent, on minimizing civilian casualties. He refused to become another tyrant, another architect of destruction. Under Kalen's guidance, the Ironclad Collective became a more disciplined and effective fighting force. He trained them in tactics, taught them how to defend themselves against the Enforcer's superior weaponry. He became a symbol of hope for the Undercity, a beacon in the darkness. However, his involvement attracted the attention of the Skytops. They dispatched their most ruthless assassin, a cybernetically enhanced warrior known as Silas, to eliminate him. Silas was Kalen's antithesis, a product of the technological age, devoid of morality and driven by cold, calculated efficiency. He was a ghost in the machine, a perfect killing machine. Their first encounter was a brutal clash, a whirlwind of steel and energy. Kalen's skill and experience were matched by Silas's superior technology and relentless aggression. The fight ended in a stalemate, both warriors wounded and exhausted. He needed help, not just from the Ironclad Collective, but from someone who understood Silas's technology, someone who could exploit his weaknesses. He turned to Dr. Eris Thorne, a brilliant but eccentric scientist who had been exiled from the Skytops for his unorthodox research. Thorne was a master of cybernetics, a pioneer in the field of neural augmentation. He had been experimenting with ways to enhance human potential, but his work had been deemed too dangerous, too unpredictable. Thorne, initially reluctant to get involved, was intrigued by Kalen's unique physiology. He agreed to help Kalen, but with a price. He wanted to study him, to unravel the secrets of his immortality. Thorne modified Kalen's armor, adding new layers of protection and integrating advanced sensors that could detect Silas's movements. He also implanted a neural interface that allowed Kalen to access the city's network, to track Silas's location and anticipate his attacks. Meanwhile, Reyes uncovered a dark secret about the prophecy. It wasn't just about a knight who would save or destroy Neo-Babylon. The prophecy spoke of a heart of steel, a device hidden deep within the Skytops that could either amplify the city's power or destroy it utterly. The Skytops planned to use the Heart of Steel to solidify their control, to crush the rebellion and enslave the Undercity forever. Kalen realized that the prophecy wasn't about him. It was about the Heart of Steel, about the choice between oppression and freedom. He had to stop the Skytops from using the device, even if it meant sacrificing himself. He gathered the Ironclad Collective and launched a daring assault on the Skytops. Kalen led the charge, his sword a blur of motion, his armor deflecting energy blasts. He fought his way through the Skytops' defenses, cutting a path towards the Heart of Steel. He finally reached the chamber where the Heart of Steel was housed. It was a massive crystal, pulsating with energy, surrounded by a force field. The Council of Nine stood before it, ready to activate the device. Silas emerged, blocking Kalen's path. Their final battle began, a clash of titans that shook the very foundations of Neo-Babylon. He used his knowledge of medieval combat to exploit Silas's weaknesses, to disrupt his attacks and wear him down. During the fight, Kalen learned that Silas wasn't just a cybernetic warrior. He was a clone, a genetically engineered weapon created by the Skytops. He was a puppet, devoid of free will. Kalen, despite his hatred for Silas, felt a pang of sympathy. He saw in him a reflection of his own existence, a life controlled by forces beyond his control. He disarmed Silas, disabling his cybernetic enhancements. But he couldn't bring himself to do it. "You don't have to be their weapon," Kalen said to Silas. "You can choose your own destiny." "Hunter." Silas, confused and disoriented, hesitated. The Council of Nine, seeing their weapon falter, unleashed the Heart of Steel. The crystal pulsed with blinding light, unleashing a wave of energy that threatened to engulf the city. Kalen realized that he had to destroy the Heart of Steel, even if it meant destroying himself. He charged towards the crystal, ignoring the Council of Nine's frantic orders. The heart of steel shattered, its energy dissipating in a blinding flash. The city plunged into darkness, its power grid collapsing. Kalen fell to the ground, his body racked with pain. He expected to die, to finally find the release he had longed for centuries. But the curse remained, binding him to life. As the dust settled, the citizens of Neo-Babylon emerged from their shelters, their faces illuminated by the flickering light of makeshift torches. They looked to the skytops, expecting orders, expecting to be told what to do. The people of Neo-Babylon were free, but they were also lost. They had no leaders, no direction. They had to rebuild their city, to create a new society from the ashes of the old. Raz, along with the Ironclad Collective, stepped forward to fill the void. They established a provisional government, promising to rebuild Neo-Babylon based on principles of equality and justice. Kalen, still alive but weakened, watched from the sidelines. He had played his part, he had fulfilled the prophecy. He had shown the people of Neo-Babylon that they had the power to choose their own destiny. He was still cursed to live, to witness the rise and fall of civilizations. But he also knew that he had made a difference, that he had planted a seed of hope in the heart of a dying city. He turned and walked away, into the darkness, a knight-errant without a kingdom, forever searching for a purpose in a world that had long forgotten the meaning of chivalry. Years later, Neo-Babylon, renamed Aethelgard, meaning noble protector, was a testament to the spirit of rebirth and resilience. A city where the lessons of the past paved the way for a future founded on equality and harmony.